Hi everyone, this is me in my backyard and we're going to do some dissection today, and this is so cool. I'm so excited about this. So today we're going to look at a cow eye, or two. I actually have four. So let's get right to it. Okay, so these are fresh, not preserved cow eyes. And let's take a look at what we can see on the outside. They're still a little frozen, but okay, so here we are. Let's see, here's where you can see. And if I pull off just a bit of this stuff in the back, I should use a pair of scissors. Well, maybe you'll stop by looking at the front. Okay, so here's the front of the eyeball. It's a little cloudy simply because obviously the organism is no longer living, and these have also been frozen, so that's that. This very thin layer right here that comes right off of the eye right near the cornea is called the conjunctiva, and this is, if you've ever had conjunctivitis, this is the thing that gets infected. So this very thin layer, it goes from your eye, it goes down behind your eyelid and then back up. So I'll show you more about that on a diagram. But anyway, so that's the conjunctiva. Right here, you'll see something that very much looks like muscle. And in fact it is. This is one of the, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 muscles that are actually responsible for moving the eye. Now, I don't know, well, I guess I could guess that this is superior end and this is the inferior end. So this looks like one of the, either the medial or lateral muscles. And so what that would do, I need to get a scissors. What that would do is it would pull your eye, whoops, it would pull your eye from side to side like that. One of those. And there's one on the opposite side that does the same thing. So it goes like that. All right. So there's one of those. And you can see that it merges directly with the connective tissue that's part of the whites of the eye. So most of the other muscles have been cut off. But here's another nice one. And you can see how that merges. Oops, no you can't, not if I don't show you. Let's see, how about this? Not work any better. This merges right into the layer that the whites of your eye, basically. And there's another little piece, and so we'll call that a day. Now, if we mess around in here for a minute, what we will find is the optic nerve. Now, what I'm showing you right now is this fat pad that's behind your eye, because you don't want your eye bouncing around inside your head. So there is a fat pad behind there. But the optic nerve, here it is. So coming out the back of the eye is this perfect little circle of a nerve. Can you see that? Called the optic nerve right there. So what we'll do is we'll cut open the eyeball and we'll see where the optic nerve comes out. So before we cut, this is the cornea. So on a live organism that would be transparent, and you can see if you look at it from the side how convex it is. That's supposed to be like that because that helps with focusing the light onto the back of your eyeball. So I need to pause for a minute because I need to go and get a pair of scissors, and I'll be right back. Okay, back again with more tools that would work better. So let's take a look at this again. Get that angle a little better. Okay, so we're going to go in from the front. And there we go. So I'm going to take a little pair of scissors, and I'm going to poke through. I'm separating the cornea, which is this clear part, from the sclera, which is the really tough white parts of your eyes. So when, someone says, wait till you see the whites of their eyes, that's what they're talking about, is the sclera. So, and you say, Miss Milliner, why are you wearing a raincoat? And I'll say, because I'm not quite sure how messy this is going to be. Oh, nice, beautiful. So, I got a little cut in there, and so now I'm going to just cut around here, separating the cornea from the sclera. And the cornea is made of proteins, and they happen to be transparent proteins. So there's just been some denaturing. Oh, nice. So what just came out was it's called the aqueous humor, and you can see that that's really watery. Aqueous, aqua, right? Agua, meaning water. And humor is not ha-ha humor. It's, like way back in, I don't know, Aristotle's time, he thought that that everything was made of earth, fire, water, and air. And so all the liquids in your body were called humors. And so we cut. We won't tell my husband and my son that I'm using, the nail clippers or the nail scissors for this dissection. But I'll clean them, I promise. I didn't bring anything home from school for this. I don't know, it didn't dawn on me. But that's okay. And you'll say, so Ms. Milliner, you just have cow eyeballs hanging around? Oh no. A friend of mine in town, they raise their own beef. And so recently she had a couple of her animals processed and asked if I wanted some stuff from them. And I said, oh yeah. Absolutely. And luckily I don't have a ton of neighbors, or close neighbors anyway. Anyway, okay, so now we have, or soon we will have, the cornea off. And you can see, I don't know if you can see, I'll hold it up, see if you can see, that you can see some of the blue of my glove through that. Okay, so that kind of illustrates its transparency, or what it used to be. It's pretty cool though. Very cool. Alright, so we see the aqueous humor, because that's all the liquid, the very watery stuff. Now, let's see if we can point out some other stuff. Okay, so, am I at a good place for you? There we go. Right here, and it's, well, you know what, I'm going to take out the next part, because maybe that will be easier to see. So look at this, I'm going to push up on this fairly gently, and a couple things are going to happen. Can you see what's happening there? That is so awesome. This is a lens. Look at how beautiful that is. I wish I had a towel. I don't. Wow. Oops, where am I? Wow. When we get preserved specimens, which is what we usually dissect in school, they're not transparent at all. But this is awesome. Whoa. That is awesome. Look at that. Alright, so the lens we'll come back and talk about in a little while. But now, is some really gross stuff, which is just the coolest stuff ever. Okay, can you see it? It's like gelatin. That is so cool. Alright, So this gelatin, can I pick it up? Yeah, is also transparent. Can you see it? Yeah. This is called the vitreous humor. So that's the gelatin in your eye. You probably heard about the, the goopy part of your eye. So this is it. And it's transparent, again, because the light has to pass through it to get to your retina in order for you to see. But what's left here is so cool. See all these lines here? Those are actually little tiny muscles that used to be attached to the lens. Ooh, I think. All right, so the lens used to sit in there like this. And what happens is when you need to change the focal point of your eye, so for example, you're reading a book, let's say, and you're looking at this, but then you have to look up and, look out into your yard or something. What's the shape of the lens has to go from something really convex to something more concave. So that's what those muscles do, is they actually change the shape of the lens like that. Oh, that's awesome. So anyway, so vitreous humor, lens, and these muscles are actually part of the iris. So the iris is the colored part. So let's take a look at the iris, actually. Okay, let me put this down so it's safe and sound. My husband, who doesn't like gross things, is peering over from the side. All right, so then here, this right here, and most of you have probably seen a cow up close and personal, and their eyes are really, really dark colored, dark brown or black. So here you can see the iris. Can you see what I'm looking at? Yeah. So here you can see the iris going all the way around. And then when you look closely, what's in the middle of it? A big giant hole. And you say, Millender, you cut it. No, I didn't. There's actually, I have to show, there's this hole here, and that is where how the light gets into your eye. So this is your pupil, which when you look at somebody's eyes is black, but in fact, the pupil isn't anything. It's actually just a hole. So what you're seeing is the inside of the eyeball. That's awesome. Okay, so so those muscles are actually part of this iris, which is the colored part of your eye. Okay, now we're going to open it. So what I'm going to try to do, and this part is really, really tough to cut into, so let's see if I can do it without poking myself. Let's see. I make a hole. Oh, I did. Looks like I made a hole. Oh, nope. All right, let's go for the big guns. Maybe I just made a hole. I started anyway. Oh, yeah, here we go. Excellent. So I'm going to cut not halfway back, but because I want to try to preserve a particular layer that you're going to see. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, on the inside. So let me just, I don't know if these are going to work. No, these little ones. Oops. Oh, we've got. So these are so much not more interesting. They're just different than the eyes that we usually get in school because they're not preserved. But they're very cool nonetheless. And some of you may have done an eyeball dissection before. But, oh yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah, this is awesome. Okay, so we'll be able to see more of the iris. Ah. Am I on camera? Yeah. Okay. All right, so we've just separated the anterior from the posterior eye, And so now, oh, I ripped part of the iris. So you can see that big hole, that's the pupil. Here's the iris. And when you look at it from the inside, you can see better all those little muscles that I showed you that was stuck to the vitreous humor. So they're much bigger than just those. So they're sitting over here on the side, and you can see the sort of radial organization of the muscles. So when the lens is being pulled, it's being pulled from all directions. So that's cool. All right, now let's take a look at some stuff. Let's see if I can get rid of this. These scissors are terrible.
Where's the scissors you use on my hair?
No. No. All right. Okay, so here, now, let's see. You see this really shiny stuff? We're going to get to that in a second. I'm just looking to see if the retina... Okay, the retina's here. It's a little... it's damaged, probably from freezing. But so let me see if I can find the optic nerve, and we can see where the... Okay, so this tiny, thin layer, not the black, but this right here that I'm pulling, those are all the rods and the cones that you need to see, right? And it's, I don't know if you saw it as I was pulling it out of here, but it's super thin, but you can't pick it up because it's so thin. So I've just picked out all the rods and cones. I'm going to put those down. So that's the retina. Now we should be able to, oh yeah, there it is. We should be able to follow this back, although it's a little difficult to see because everything's so dark. But you can see that here's some retina here, and if I mark that, say right here, right, and I turn around, I'm going to get the optic nerve. So here's the optic nerve. Can you see what I'm doing? Here's the optic nerve coming out of the back of the eyeball. And if we go inside the eyeball, oh, there, now it's visible. You can see that little circle right there. And that's where all the rods and cones, the fibers from all the rods and cones, leave the back of the eye to go into the brain for interpretation. So that's cool. Now, this black area, you're going to ask me what the name of it is. The choroid layer. Okay, so the black layer is the choroid layer, and what that does is it prevents light from bouncing around on the inside of your eyeball, because then it would make the images blurry. So this dark layer actually absorbs some of that light and prevents that bouncing around, which is also really cool, and I'll show I can pull that off as well. But that is behind, all right, so it's more superficial to the retina. So the light has to go through the retina to get to this dark area. Now, this iridescent layer is so pretty, isn't it? Look at how gorgeous that is. That, we as humans don't have that. But if you've ever seen a cat or a dog's eyes glowing in the dark, or maybe you've seen wildlife off, in the woods with their eyes glowing in the dark, this is what causes that. And what it does is it reflects the light back through the retina, which sits on top of it, it improves night vision. And it does that by the light coming in, going through the retina, it stimulates the rods and the cones, and then instead of being absorbed by this black layer, it's actually reflected back out to the rods and cones again to give them another stimulus so that people can see, cows and foxes and dogs and cats can see at night. And You're going to ask me the name of that, and I'm going to say that I cannot remember. It's part of the choroid layer. I'll put a little note in the video because I can't remember what it is. All right, so here we have the choroid layer. Here we have the exiting of the optic nerve. Oops. Choroid layer, exiting of the optic nerve. And this right here is what we call the blind spot. And the reason it's called the blind spot is because there aren't any rods and cones right there. Because all of the fibers from all the rods and cones actually meet here and, you know, sort of form a cluster and come back out the back as the optic nerve. So there's no room for rods and cones here. And you've probably done a blind spot test, but I'll have you do one of those at home, and it'll be fun. So let's look at the choroid layer. I'm actually going to pull this off so you can see, you know, it's rightfully its own layer. Really dark to absorb that light, and so that iridescent part is also part of this choroid. So I'm going to get that off, or some of it anyway. And what you're left with is this outer layer of irregular, I think it's dense irregular connective tissue that forms this really tough, look how thick that is. Can you see how thick that is? This really tough outer layer, which, you know, gives your eye some shape. It protects the internal stuff and whatnot. So, anyway, that's a cow eye dissection. So, we've got, where are we? We've got the cornea. The iris and the pupil. Then we have the lens, which is getting a little funky. Can you see what I'm doing? Yep, there's the lens. And then we had, we had the aqueous humor, remember, was that liquid that spilled out right away. Then we have the vitreous humor. And then we have the back of the eye where we looked at the sclera, which is the white. Sitting inside the sclera is the choroid layer, which is that really dark layer. And then as part of the choroid layer, you have this iridescent layer, which gives better night vision to certain animals. So that is a cow eye dissection. And thanks for joining me with that. That was really fun. I enjoyed that very much. And so I have some other things to dissect for you, but those are going to have to wait because they're still frozen. All right, so great. Thanks very much, and I hope you enjoyed this.